From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021. Reports this evening of an attempted stabbing in the West Bank. The Jerusalem Post reports that the incident took place at the Kalandia security checkpoint outside of Jerusalem, where a Palestinian man became aggressive after Israeli security forces prevented him from going through the checkpoint. And he then pulled out a screwdriver and tried to stab one of the security guards, but was neutralized. A border police officer was said to have been very lightly hurt in the incident, and the assailant, who was lightly injured, was taken for questioning by security forces. An investigation is ongoing. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued a warning today against Iran, accusing the Islamic Republic of harboring al-Qaeda, providing the terror group with a home base and freedom of movement. Pompeo said not only does this raise the threat against the U.S., Israel, and others, but he said threatens the progress of the Abraham Accords as well, referring to the normalization agreements recently signed between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Sudan. Pompeo said if al-Qaeda can use terror attacks in the region to blackmail nations from joining the warm peace with Israel, then we risk grinding generational momentum for peace in the Middle East to a halt. Well, a swastika and the Nazi SS symbol were discovered this weekend on the outer wall of a Jewish cemetery near the site of the former Auschwitz death camp. The Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum shared the news on Twitter Sunday with a photo of the graffiti writing the exterior wall of the Auschwitz Jewish Cemetery, a remnant and memorial of the destroyed community, has been vandalized with Nazi symbols. Seeing them just 3 kilometers from the memorial at the town that suffered so much during the German occupation is painful. The museum noted that the wall was cleaned immediately, but together, they stressed, we need to keep fighting against all forms of hatred. The Polish law prosecutes such acts, they noted. We hope the police will identify the people responsible. 3 restaurants that serve Israeli cuisine in Portland, Oregon were vandalized over the weekend. The slogan Free Palestine, among similar others, were found painted on 2 locations of the Shalom Yal restaurant and at Aviv, all which serve Israeli food. Shalom Yal's owners Casey Mills, Jamal Hassan, and Laura Amans released a statement reading, "We are committed to operating inclusive spaces and do not tolerate messages of hate or racism in any form," thanking the community for the outpouring of support since the vandalism. The Portland Police Bureau is investigating. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, January the 12th at 7 o'clock. It's from the Aleph Bet. At 7:30, episode 2 of the JBS original scripted reality series From Date to Mate. At 8, the president of Shurat Hadin, Nitzana Darshan-Leitner, explains how her organization fights terrorism in courts of law and challenges those who seek to delegitimize the state of Israel. That's with Robert Walker of Honest Reporting of Canada. At 9, Mark Golub speaks with former Knesset member Dov Lipman, who discusses the omissions and distortions in Barack Obama's chapter on Israel and the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in his autobiography, A Promised Land. At 10:30, award-winning Israeli actor Sasson Gabay talks about portraying the same role in the film and then the Broadway version of The Band's Visit, and other career highlights on Eric Goldman's Jewish Cinematheque. And coming up next, it's the ILTV's Insider. Well, we end the news today, sadly, with the death of a giant of contemporary Jewish life and perhaps the single greatest philanthropist in the Jewish community, Sheldon Adelson, who was 87 years of age. A controversial figure on the world Jewish scene, the Las Vegas casino magnate was seen as a major figure on the political right. Sheldon Adelson was the largest donor to Birthright Israel, giving hundreds of millions of dollars to the program over the years, funding free trips for Jewish students to visit the country, as well as donating millions to medical facilities in Israel and in the United States. Adelson also created the newspaper Yisrael Hayom in Israel, and he was seen as a staunch ally of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who today said he received the news of Adelson's passing with deep sorrow and heartbreak, tweeting he was a wonderful friend to us personally and an incredible champion of the Jewish people, the Jewish state, and the alliance between Israel and America. Adelson was also a major funder of the Republican Party. His wife, Miriam Adelson, an influential advisor always at her husband's side, called Adelson an American patriot, a U.S. Army veteran who gave generously to wounded warriors and, wherever he could, looked to the advancement of these great United States. He was the proudest of Jews who saw in the State of Israel not only the realization of an historical promise to a unique and deserving people, but also a gift from the Almighty to all of humanity. Adelson died late yesterday after complications from a long illness. He will reportedly be laid to rest in Israel.